Yeah.
It's that compulsive, obsessive A personality stuff. It
Might
gets to
be.
you.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Matt.
Good evening. Long time no see.
Yep.
Should I get going?
It's 6:30 and we are live. So, yep.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the June 5th Policy and Personnel Committee meeting. We have a fairly short agenda tonight, which I don't think anyone's going to complain about a whole lot. Mr. Boyer, after we ask about public comment, if you want to pick up with the first policy, that'd be fine with me. Do we have any public comment at this time?
Not at this time, Mr. Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Under policy on the agenda it's just a policy that I would like the committee to just take a deeper look at and review. We don't have this policy, educator misconduct policy. It's recommended through PSBA related to educator misconduct, and I'll open it up for you. Sorry, I was having trouble opening it up. Here we go. Let me make it a little larger. There. This policy in itself really is a policy to follow when a professional employee or any employee violates the Educator Discipline Act. Now, it really revolves around misconduct and how we handle misconduct, and then also the submission of an educator misconduct form to PDE. It's a policy that goes through citable offenses, things that relate to, sexual misconduct, also our duties to report, and then it goes into the terminology of how things are submitted to the Pennsylvania Department of Education for review and documentation that we would need to submit if we're reporting any type of misconduct. I would just like the committee to review this with the hopes that we'll probably bring it back next school year if we would like to recommend it for the board to approve. That's all I really have with this policy. I don't know if there's anyone that has any questions that I can answer about it. I did also put the link in here that we would follow if we were to file a complaint. It's right online, but the form is really a PDF form that I have to fill out, then submit with supporting evidence.
Okay, thank you. I see Miss Bearden has her hand up.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I just had one question. I did read it. It seems to be really related to the staff versus student. But is the harassment portion, is that regardless, could that be staff, or is this policy solely limited to or relatable to the educator misconduct for the student, child, or minor?
No, I mean, it's related to really any criminal offenses. Like, it revolves around stuff with staff related to, the chargeable offenses with immorality, incompetence, temperance, negligence, misconduct, and just violations related to, certification regulations. It can overlap into things that are done with students to staff too.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So basically, Mr. Boyer, you're giving us homework for August.
Yeah, I mean, if August is the month, we'll see, but definitely something in the future.
Sounds good.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. We have one item under personnel. It's really, I just wanted to review with the committee what our current open positions are now at this moment in time. I mean, it actually changed around 3:15 today. We actually formally hired another teacher, paperwork wise and things. But these are the positions that we currently have open, and I can make this a little larger as well. But these are the ones that are advertised related to professional staff and things. But you can see we have made some progress, like in the world of special ed, and also, you know, just some momentum with the interview process with some of our teachers related to you know, our long-term subs. But you know, this is what we currently have open. I don't know if there's any questions with that.
Mrs. Lawrence.
Of course, I have a question about that. First, well, two questions actually. First of all, what are the asterisks for? Am I missing something?
No, the asterisks here, like I put we put these here to notate some things for us, but these are currently positions that we are involved in. I don't want to say all of them are full-blown interviewing processes yet, but you know, we have a process of the principals go through the applicants that apply. Then we send video interviews to whoever that would be. Then that would move on into a next round of a formal interview. And then we see where it goes after that. It might be another interview or follow-ups, but the asterisks, that we're involved in that process with these now.
Okay. But just to reiterate what we talked about before, I know there's going to be more positions opening than these as we go through the summer, because there always are. So, you know, I'm just again asking that we're being mindful that if an opening comes up we hadn't expected, that if it's something that we may not need as much as the math or the principal at the middle school, I know to me those are the two biggies, that we think about that too. And I'm sure you are, but I'm just going to keep bringing it up so that it doesn't you know, fade away, because you know, like I said, I know we're gonna have other openings as we go along. We always do. So it's just something to keep in mind as we're moving ahead.
Sure. Yep. No doubt.
Do you have another question, Mrs. Lawrence?
No, I just can't. There we go. I just couldn't figure out how to lower it.
Okay. That's not bad though for end of the school year, Mr. Boyer.
No, not at all. I mean, and you know, to be quite honest, like everyone on this sheet, you know, those positions are advertised. We're already in the process of, you know, trying to fill them. And it's good. We have a lot of applicants, some internal things with people applying too. So, you know, I'm knocking on wood. I feel pretty good moving forward.
Good.
All right. And that's all I have, Mr. Klein.
All right. Informational items and new business, I think for me are kind of blurred a little bit. I'm gonna kind of combine the two and go to Mr. Rodriguez, if that's okay with you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Sure.
It's been 2 weeks since we passed the preliminary budget. I'm just wondering if any changes have occurred in those 2 weeks.
You wouldn't think so, but actually, yes. As Mrs. Lawrence stated, every time new things come up, we're always looking at, you know, how we can benefit the district. And I shared with board members the process, especially when I don't have answers. And I know that's really, really frustrating to everyone, especially me. But our process is, you know, we share what the issues and the problems are. We do so with a multitude of stakeholders, and you know, then kind of wait to kind of see what shakes out and keep talking about it and see what kind of angles we can work. And I'm happy to say that we a grant that we had for a number of years that we were using for specific work as it relates to connecting families and community work. um, we took a look at that as we were, figuring out the next year, and we thought to ourselves, a lot of this work could be covered under communications and social media. So maybe instead of farming that work out to family services, which is a great partner, at least farming out all of that work to family services, maybe we can do some of that work internally and save the position. So we had to look at all of this stuff, and we're, quite frankly, we're not done looking at it completely, but I'd say we're 99%. And we're making sure that all the requirements of the grant are met. We're making sure that our different schools are going to get what they need, but at the end of the day, it looks like we're going to be able to shift that grant money over and keep the social media communications position for next year. That's the way that it looks right now.
Oh,
So yeah, it's been an exciting 2 weeks. I can't tell you how happy I am, and I'm gonna just go on record. It was Mr. Oxenford that was reviewing the grant and said, "Wait a second, maybe we need to take a look at this and have a conversation." So I'm really, really grateful. We've got a good, strong team here, and I know Anthony is happy about it, but it will be my intention to include that in the budget because it's a grant. It's not going to affect any of the bottom lines. It's just shifting responsibilities from an outside vendor that we used to use to an internal person. So it will be revenue and expenditure neutral, but that's all we have.
wonderful. That's a big one though. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other thoughts or comments?
No, sir, that's it for now.
Okay. I think we're at the end of the agenda. I don't have it in front of me right this second. So if we are, I guess we go to public comment, correct? Anybody else have any new business? Okay. Is there any public comment, Nick? Anthony? Whoever's there?
Not at this time, Mr. Klein.
Thank you. So last week, Mrs. Lawrence, or last month, Mrs. Lawrence, we went like an hour and a half overtime. Cumulatively, I'm still behind, but we're
Well,
catching
who's
up a little
counting? I'm
bit.
not, no ledger. I just think we're all just all tired, so it's fine. End of this school year, so
The
we're
next
ready to go.
policy, let me just, I forgot to say this. The next policy and personnel committee will be August 7th. So we'll see you all then. Mrs. Lawrence.
All right, so we will call our curriculum committee to order. Any public comment in the last minute and a half?
Not at this time, Mrs. Lawrence.
Okay. So I don't know who, we've got three people starting here, so I don't know. I'll throw it to you, Mr. Oxenford, and you can go from there.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Lawrence. Good evening, everyone. We have a handful of things on the agenda for tonight, and we are going to start off with our CSI annual update and the approval process. Dr. Wangia, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so he can bring up his presentation, but he's going to walk us through a lot of the great work that's been happening at the middle school that you've heard about over the last couple of years. But it's time for the annual update and give the status of where things stand as of now and what's in the near future. So with that, I'll turn the floor over to, or the screen over to Dr. Wangia.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me here today and being able to present. Can everybody see my screen?
Mhm.
Right. I am going to try and move through this as speedily as possible. If I move too quickly, please stop me, ask any questions. I'm happy to answer. So the CSI plan for 24-25, we're gonna do some reviews of that and look at some of the successes that we had from 24-25, and then just look forward to the challenges that arose out of 24-25 and then have been prioritized for next school year, as well as the goals that we have in place for that. Obviously, we start every meeting when we do our CSI work with reminding ourselves why we are here, why we do this work, and leaning especially on the mission, looking at every student. Some of the notable successes from this past year were just growth. If you look at the work that has been done, we are seeing growth in ELA, 9% growth, 9-point growth in both fifth and sixth grade, and then 10 and 11 in eighth grade. But I want to bring your attention especially to math, which is an area that, over the past 3 years, the middle school has struggled with tremendously. We are excited to show some significant growth in mathematics over the past year, and a lot of that credit goes to many people, obviously starting with the teachers who have put in a lot of time, and by a lot I mean a lot, in changing practice of how we instruct students, looking at student data, a lot of support coming from central office with getting, the middle school what we need here in terms of data collection in the data warehouse, and actionable data that teachers can use to change their instructional practices and make sure that they are meeting every student needs. And that's something we're really proud of here, and are cautiously optimistic as we look towards PSSAs to see, hopefully looking for a mirroring of of this, what our local data is telling us. Also saw some growth in science, 13-point growth in science, which again, I don't know if anybody has, a long memory, but looking back, the middle school has mostly done single-digit improvements when we moved forward, and then, some backward steps. So this is something we are really, really proud of, the work that our teachers have done this year. Some more notable successes, PBIS has been implemented. If Mr. Dargan was here, he would say it's a robust PBIS system, that framework that we are using here at the middle school, just to change the feeling of the building, to move from, fight or flight, to a place where students can come in and are calm, and can go into class prepared in that mindset to learn. Changing this into bringing forth mostly that we are an academic institution above everything else. Again, a lot of work by the teachers. If you look at last year, there was 750,000 positive acknowledgements. That is 750 times students 750,000 times students were told in this building, hey, I like how you're doing XYZ. Here is 2 points. I like how you're doing this. This year, that number jumped to 1.3 million over, right? That's a lot of positive acknowledgement, a lot of kids who are being told you're doing the right thing, you're moving in the right direction, and it reflects. It reflects in how our students are behaving in class. It reflects in the relationships that are being built with teachers and students and families, I should say. And then the second point there is PLCs, and PLCs this time when grade level teachers get together to look at that data that is now available to us and make decisions. So all the fifth grade math teachers get together, all the sixth grade ELA teachers get together and look over the data, and then together make decisions on what's best for students in their class. And that has been really, really effective for us here at the middle school in moving forward. And this is only made possible again through, some of the work that was done prior to our getting here, in terms of creation of the house model, where, in those meetings, the house principals are able to sit with the teachers and give some guidance, MTSS process as well with the coaches, where they're able to sit in those meetings and kind of splice the data, allowing teachers to take what is most important to them and take it back to the classroom to change their practices. Some of the attention areas that we're going to face, and I'm going to break this down a little bit as we move forward. we divided our attention areas into three. The first one is professional learning for teachers. The second one is aligning curricula and materials. And then the last one is that culture and expectations. And I'm going to run through this as quickly as I can. The first one is that, professional learning. We took a survey at the end of last year, and some of the things teachers said were, we do a lot of professional development, and not all of it is effective for us. Some people need some things, just like our students need certain things to be successful. Teachers need different things to be successful. They have areas of strength, areas of weakness. So we kind of combined and found, all our areas of strength, areas of need, and then we took professional development to that small level. So everybody who needs help with, say, differentiating would go to a specific professional development, and that worked really, really well. We had positive feedback from teachers. Teachers led professional development in the areas where they are strong, and it was amazing to see teachers learning from teachers, knowing that all the resources are found in this building, and that was helpful. We're going to continue with that in the coming year, and do using a little bit more of the data that we have. Instead of saying, now I'm choosing this thing, it's going to be based on the data. This is where we need to improve and improve our instructional practices that way. The second one is, continuing this process, which is already in motion. We have done it in mathematics. We are now aligned K through 8, I believe. Mr. Oxenford, correct me if I'm wrong. But then we are in mathematics, and continuing that work to make sure that we are aligned, in ELA, looking at science, looking at social studies, and so on and so forth. And that's the work that we'll be doing, again, a lot of it being done in PLCs. And then the last one here is, fostering that culture of high expectations. This is where we are using PBIS to, again, bring a community feel and a togetherness feel, a shift of the culture of the building, just based on, positive reinforcement to students by not just teachers, but every adult in this building, right? So that is an access that has been given to everybody in this building, from, in the office staff, custodians, cafeteria staff. Everybody in this building now has that ability to positively acknowledge students when they're doing what they need to do and award them those points. Again, that has been big for us in creating our culture shift. The goals for this coming year, I'm going to kind of run through this a little bit. So by June, 75% of our students will show a year's worth of growth in ELA and in math. The number you see there in parentheses is the number from this past year. So last year, our goal was 70. We met our goal, but it was struggling to get there. And that, to me, that's the sign of a good goal. If the goal's too easy that I can just, the bar is too low, I can roll over it, it doesn't allow us to grow and pull and stretch. And so the goal this year has been bumped up to 75% of our students. As we work, we're not resting on that number. Our goal is always to have all of our students show growth within their year, a year's worth of growth for the time they're spending with us. For terms of CSI, we're going with 75%. The next one there is our English language learners. On a rubric of a 5-point rubric, they will score 4. This year, the goal was 2. Our English language learners surpassed that goal and ended the year at a 3.2, which was really, really impressive. And so we are setting a goal for 4 on that 5-point rubric for them to get over. And then 80% of staff will increase behavior-specific praise. So the number I showed you worked out to about 4.5, 4.5 acknowledgements a day. So about 5 acknowledgements a day. We're moving from 5 acknowledgements a day to 20 acknowledgements per day. That's a big jump, but looking at our data and looking at what we hope to achieve, we find that to be quite possible. And again, stretching ourselves a little bit to make sure that we are creating the best environment for our students. And then all staff will attend 3 assigned professional development. That writing there needs some editing. They will choose 2. One of them will be assigned, and the assigned one will be assigned based on data that is collected from walkthroughs that administrators are seeing as they walk through the classrooms, to just kind of make sure we are marching in the same direction. The hope and the goal here is for what teachers choose and what is assigned be the same thing, so that teachers are working towards the same goal throughout the year. And then 90% of staff will incorporate what they're learning. Those professional development that has been assigned to them needs to transfer into the classroom where it can be seen. So taking what we are learning and then having that be seen within the classroom as affecting instructional practices. I'm going to go through the data-driven decisions here, through the action steps. I beg your pardon. I would also just kind of pause here for a second and say, I had to pick out of maybe 30 or 40 action steps that we are going to take to get us to where we want to go. And I just selected a few of them, but there's a lot of action steps. I am happy to share the document with the board, adding to that, homework that you guys have coming due August. And just so that you can read and see, it'll make a little more sense as you go through it. But these are just a few steps that have been selected. So for the data decision action steps, establishing a team that analyzes data, and that's important. That's important because when teachers are coming into PLCs, they need to have the data prepared for them, so that they're not spending time pulling the data. The time that they have in front of them is for creating materials and then finding how they're going to change their instructional practices. The last one there talks about teachers participating in data review sessions. This is going to be at the end of every benchmark. And this is time that has been set through professional development every 8 weeks, I want to say 8 to 12 weeks. Is a data review session where every teacher is looking at their data and giving some of their thoughts and mostly reflection on where they're going. The next one is instructional teams. And the one I want to pull out from here is, that second bullet point: instructional teams develop materials for their aligned learning activities. Again, this is important, where we are looking at how are we teaching what we are teaching, and what does it look like in 5th grade class 1, 5th grade class 2. If 2 students have 2 different teachers both teaching mathematics, is the A in class A the same as an A in class B, right? And then just making sure that those materials are aligned and are being delivered to students. The third one here is PBIS. And here I will look at the first one, professional development, beginning at the beginning of the year, understanding that this is now year 3 of us doing professional development, and there's going to be some people who, I got it. Just let me run, let me go with it. But we also have new people coming in, teaching them on how this is done, and mid-year we'll have a mid-year review. And then also just knowing that we have a team that reviews our PBIS data and shares the direction in which we are going with teachers. The last one here is observations. This is what the administrators in the building will be doing as they go through the year. And one of the things that we are doing is to make sure that we have time scheduled to do our peer walkthroughs for teachers, so that they can learn from each other, as well as walkthroughs from administrators where they're giving feedback to teachers and allowing teachers to grow in that way. I would like to acknowledge specific people here. MCIU has been really, really helpful with us. Our SIF, they call her school something. Facilitator. Thank you. She has been fantastic working with us and pointing us in the right direction. They also give us, a lot of professional development hours for free that the school has taken advantage of. The implementation team, which is, I call them the pointy side of the arrow. They're the ones doing most of the work within the school here, the touch points with students. District office for always answering my call, and I know I can be a pain, and I call 100 times, always answering the call, always providing for us what we need as we go along. And then steering committee, who have provided great guidance to us as we meet with them to share the plan. And yeah, I'll stop my share and answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you. Not really any questions, but I did just have a couple comments, and then I see there's a question or two. First of all, I mean, I think you guys are doing a really, really good job at the middle school. I really see huge improvement. This was one of the things I started harping on when I got on the board, and I really do think that it's come a long way. And here's my plug again. I think a lot of it is that house model. I think it's really been working and getting those connections, because we all know that's the key. And if the kids feel valued, they feel that there's people there for them, and the more they know, the better it is. So there's another plug for that position. The same way with the math. Mr. Rodriguez, I know, gets mad every time I get a little cringy with the data thing, but I'm assuming we're talking about multiple data points, not just, one number or something. But again, that's another reason for thinking about that math thing. I think we need to keep that going. They're going to go up to the high school, and we want that progress to keep going. So I said it both meetings now, so we'll make sure I'm not forgetting it. But I really do think that things have improved a lot with that house model, and I really I'm impressed with that. And I really do like your one of the comments on one of those slides about setting the high expectations. I think that's one thing that we haven't always done, set them with the kids that they can achieve and they can do well if we encourage it. And I'm glad that that's a big priority. And again, hoping that continues as they go through. But thank you for that. It was really, really well done. I don't know. I saw your hand first, Mrs. Bearden, but I'm not sure. All right, Ms. Canciano says yes. I couldn't see everybody, so go ahead.
Thank you. And no shame. Good job, Mrs. Lawrence. Shameless plug. When I came, I made the suggestion of us moving to the house model for the middle school. It only made sense and was logical. It took our team a bit to get on board, but I'm glad that we did. But that was one of my suggestions when I came on as well. Just two quick questions for Mr. Wangia. Thank you for your presentation and for the work that you're doing at the middle school. As Mrs. Lawrence said, this has been a baby of hers. It's been a baby of many of ours. And we're just glad to see things moving forward in a positive direction. And we know things don't happen overnight, just like for our board. We're a product of our predecessors. And so people plant some seeds, and we need people to water them, right? And so appreciative of what we have going on at the middle school across the board. Question on the data-driven piece in your presentation. You said you would establish a team comprised of professional and staff. Is that including specialties or like special education, or is that strictly mainstream?
So special education, when our students take the benchmarking, it's everybody within the building takes that test. So when we are looking at the data, we're looking at everybody's data: special education, regular education, English language learners. We look at everybody's data.
So the team that you comprise will be inclusive of those staff members.
Correct.
Great. And then my only other question was related to the instructional teams. There's a note that says you'll circle back. What does that look like? As in, like, what cyclical basis are you going to circle back?
So for the instructional teams, CSI has a lot of meetings, we have our monthly meeting where we look at, the goals that are being set monthly. We also have quarterly meetings where we are again looking at the goals and reporting back to the state And we also have meetings with just the state and Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Oxenford, and myself, where again we are letting them know this is how we are doing it. So there's 3 levels of meetings, monthly, quarterly, and then I think like 3 times a year we meet for the other one.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Good job again.
Thank you.
Ms. Kancianik.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Wangia. Thanks for
Hello.
coming tonight. That was a great, informative presentation. The only question I have is the assessments piece. Is this going to be driven from assessments we already do, or are there going to be something on top of what we're doing now?
No, this assessments are what we are doing right now. So the benchmarking, which gives us that Linkit score, Linkit is very closely aligned to the PSSAs, and that's why we pick that data, because it tells us, how close off the mark are we, how do we need to adjust so that we are where we need to be by the end of the year. And then the Edmentum data, that is our diagnostic data, it tells us what areas are our students missing, right? So where do we need to focus on specific students and give them the need that they have? So that's has been going on within the middle school, and that's where we get a lot of our data points. The rest of it is just local data from some of the work that has been done in math, in making those modules, and then obviously working for ELA as well.
Anybody else? That was very thorough. See, not even any questions. You can tell I watch too much true crime, because every time you say CSI, I'm thinking about crime scene. I have those acronyms get me, but thank you very much. That was very good, very positive stuff.
Comprehensive school improvement.
I know, but I'm going right to CSI. All right, whatever. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Oxenford.
All right. All right. Next up, we do have a Mako 360 video before I take that back. Out of order. Mr. Rodriguez was going to open up the floor or I believe discuss budget updates. So that was on the agenda. I apologize for not having it on the slide.
Mrs. Lawrence, if it's okay with you, I'm just going to say we put this on all agendas, if everyone recalls, to make sure that board members had an opportunity to ask questions. I just gave an update in Mr. Klein's. I don't have anything further, but we wanted to make sure, you ask us for it and we're doing it. So if there's no other questions, I'm done.
Doesn't look like it. So, okay.
Sorry to skip around. Next up, we have Mako 360 video. So I think as we wrapped up the school year, this is one of the many, many highlights of the year, going back well over a year ago when this was just a vision and something that required a lot of orchestration to come together. One of the things I think we're looking to do through this committee is make sure you have insight into what things actually look like. And although, we've talked about it in passing and celebrated some highlights with the team going out to Ohio and as 8th graders beating up pretty good on some high school teams from across the country. It's important that you actually get some updated visuals. So we put together a video just to capture some testimonials and tell the story about this school year with Mako 360. And so you get to sit back and watch. So please let me know if you can't hear it. We frame the vision of the program around the development in 3 primary areas: cognitive, interpersonal, and intrapersonal. In other words, our students demonstrating an ability to be analytical and dynamic in their thinking. Interpersonal, they have to be able to work with others and really just be a good teammate. And intrapersonal, which means they had to demonstrate flexibility, dependability, and a huge level of resilience.
we developed Montco 360 specifically for middle school students who have high aptitude and who need an outlet that will challenge them, but at the same time inspire them to do great things with their natural abilities. We're so grateful to be next to and partnering with Montgomery County Community College so that even in 8th grade, our students are getting high-level academics.
What makes Montco 360 special is the students are given design challenges that make them have to go and find the science and the math to solve the problem. Once they understand what the problem is and possible solutions that they develop, now they need to understand the materials to work with and tools and processes in which to build their designs. Along the way, they're going to face many challenges, whether it's the glue not sticking to a material or dimensional issues. They're always going to be finding different balances in the relationships between, if I choose this, then I'm not going to be able to choose that. So they're always going to be weighing back and forth their decisions.
My favorite thing about Montco 360 is how much it's pushing my kids to grow past what they would be doing in a traditional 8th grade classroom. With this being the first year of Montco and my kids having the pilot program, it's great to see what Mr. Bachman is doing to really push these kids to the next level. I like seeing them be challenged, I like seeing them be frustrated in a positive way, and most importantly, I like seeing their problem-solving skills really develop and grow so that they're not just failing and not learning. They're failing, they're learning, and they're getting better, which I think is a valuable life lesson that they can learn.
Thinking about Montco 360 and the things that we've been able to do for our students this year, it's an amazing opportunity where students are able to learn how to fail. They're doing projects that are well beyond their scope in the beginning and they fail into success. It's been a great opportunity which, if I could, I would happily give my own children to get this experience. There isn't much in life that prepares you for something like this, and to be able to do it at an 8th grade level is a phenomenal thing. I can't wait for generations from now to talk about how this was the starting spot, the starting point for them to think about engineering, think about science, think about technology. It opens up the world for our students, and I'm really glad that we have an opportunity like this and that we can present our kids with something that I can almost confidently say that no other district in the county is doing.
The level of questioning and thinking that these students have been put into place this past year, it's carrying over into the other classrooms when they return. When they act as a cohort, the morning kids are in the afternoon with some of their other peers. It is forcing those peers to rise to a higher level of thinking and conversation. And the teachers have started reporting that this has been a huge benefit to those students who are not in the Montco 360 class. And it is creating an environment for a very high level of participation and higher order of thinking for these.
Montco 360 has been an awesome opportunity for my daughter. They've been faced with real life experiences inside and outside the classroom, and they've had to come up with problem-solving skills, which helps whether they're in school or out of school and with where they're going. And so it's been exciting to see her and her classmates, even in the community, being presented with challenges and then realizing, all right, maybe I messed up, or hey, I gotta tweak this, but coming up with solutions to solve those problems. They've been experiencing the robotics challenges, mouse card challenges, and just seeing them talk and present to adults and peers, and seeing them overcome those challenges and those obstacles that they're facing has been just such an awesome opportunity, and I'm excited to see the program continue.
Montco 360 has been unbelievable for my son. In the beginning, he was unaware, unsure. For the most part, he didn't show his true self. Montco 360 actually went and made him believe in himself, and able to show how strong he truly is and that he truly is a leader. And it's the personality that I see in my son is a lot stronger, a lot more confident. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing for these kids.
I think the most challenging thing is a little bit of a change in pace. A lot of times, things at the middle school move a little bit slower and it's slow to progress. But with Monco, you move on quick and you need to be paying attention, which is definitely feasible, but it's not what you're used to over at the middle school, where they kind of go through things nice and slow, make sure everybody gets it, and then they go. We move on through a lot of topics throughout the year, and like by halfway through the year, we completed the 8th grade curriculum. So that just kind of goes to show how quickly we run through. So the most difficult part is probably the change in pace. The work itself is not too difficult, but you have to be ready to learn it at a different speed than you normally would. For everybody to be successful, because Monco 360, the environment is kind of like a no excuses type environment. So it's like you can say, I left it at home, it's in the locker, but that doesn't apply here. You can't just like get a check or a pass. You know what I mean? So a lot of it is getting your work done and being held accountable for your actions and what you do. There's no getting around it. You need to get your stuff done and not mess around. It's a lot more like a professional setting than the middle school.
What's been challenging about this experience? All the work that Mr. Bachman may pile up on you. I may understand that some kids may not be able to handle a lot of work, but after a while it teaches you to grow, it teaches you to get better with your workload, teaches you to get better with a lot of things you're going to be doing here. Participating at Monco 360 prepared me for high school. It's preparing me for a job. It's showing me what I'm capable of, what I can do, how far I can go. It's showing me that there's no limits to your creativity.
What's been challenging about this experience? Probably just the stuff that I've learned. I learned a bunch of high school stuff as an 8th grader. I'm pretty young and I'm learning a lot of stuff advanced for my age and my age group, and I know a lot more than most of the people that I know. Participating in Monco has helped me prepare to be successful by teaching me stuff to prepare me for high school as an 8th grader, and even taught me a couple things for college. And it's also taught me to solve problems more maturely than a normal 8th grader would.
I think that has been challenging about this experience is probably working with some other people that I don't like, or they don't put enough effort in.
Something I found difficult during the Monco 360 program was the ball competition, because we had to learn an entirely new thing like building and programming robots.
Most challenging part of Monco 360 was probably getting on the same page as our table mates or teammates, because everyone has different opinions or ideas, which could sometimes be hard getting on the same page for what we were building or what we were designing.
It's exciting how the vision came to reality through the coordinated efforts of Monco, the school board, central staff, building level administrators, parents, and especially a teacher who embraces challenges.
Yeah, that's amazing, Mr. Ossenford. The whole program is great. Is that video something that you're hoping to use other places than just for us?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're the first starting point with that. We wanted to show it to you first and then release it to everyone else. But we wanted to have that serve as a reference point when we really didn't do justice explaining what the program was, because, we can explain something in passing, but we wanted to be able to have something that captured really the words of a variety of people. And, like the students, like you can hear from them just the maturity of how they could speak about what happened during the program. And really that was our hope for them as we went into the school year that would happen. So, I mean, I imagine that's going to be used in a variety of places, and hopefully it does a decent job. It'll never truly capture how special that place is when you're over in the classroom and just feeling like what that atmosphere is. But it's just our best attempt to try to capture what we could.
Yeah, I'd love to see a list of the actual projects they did, if there was anything like that, just to, that would be really helpful and to just out of curiosity, because it's just a great program. And I'm assuming that we have kids already signed up for next year, right?
Correct. We've got a next year's list. We do this in layers. We one by one, someone calls home to the parents and gives an explanation so that the students aren't put in a position where we talk to the student and the parent says for some reason, like, no, that's not something that I would be interested in, to not create that dynamic between the child and the parent. So we call home, give a pretty lengthy explanation to each parent, and then ask them if it's okay for us to talk to their child. And then, we talk to the children one by one and give them an opportunity to say yes and talk about what it is. And this year we were blessed in that we were able to have them, spend some time visiting with the current students, where last year we're talking about what it's going to be. Like, we didn't have a classroom to take them to until August. So to have them go out, they were there a couple weeks ago. We had a little bit of an orientation for the incoming parents. We met in the lobby of Montgo West and then took them up to the room, and we went through a whole series of things. And we told them, we were very honest with them and said, here's some things that it is and is not. And as long as that still, sits okay with you, we can absolutely continue. And if not, we can gladly give a life-changing opportunity to someone else.
All right. No pressure though. All right, Miss Bearden.
Thank you. Wonderful presentation. Love seeing staff. Love the whole bit. And the students really bring it around, like you said. When you get to hear it right out of the mouths of the students, that is like a feeling that not mine or a child or anyone else, but it just warms my heart. That said, can you please remind me of how many slots we had for this year? And am I correct in that I heard that we might have more slots for next year?
So the number that we're sticking with for now is 18. So 18 works out in that, they're split into two groups. And for now that has been the ideal size. I mean, part of the factor was like the transportation and shuttling students back and forth. And we have, a 9-passenger van that has been able to accommodate us. And it's worked pretty well. I would say to grow it, I mean, this is the reality of it. I mean, you heard from Mr. Bachman. I think you've had some experience with Mr. Bachman and some of the successes. I mean, there are a lot of visionaries and there are people who work behind the scenes to obviously make it happen, but he lives Monco 360. It's just consistent with who he is as a person. So it would be, if we were ever in a position to ever consider expanding, we'd have to have someone very similar with similar characteristics. So for now, that's how many we have, 18.
Yeah. And how are the students recommended? I know that the students have talked about it being fast paced, and certainly they don't know they're ready for it until you bring them into the moving along and that. But are they recommended by grades? Sometimes some very intelligent students basically just withdraw and they don't really care to study or test extremely well. They just are muddling through because they're just bored. They don't want that. So how are the students basically selected or recommended?
That's a great question. So there's a variety of data points that we look at. Obviously, like, the academics are going to be part of the initial part. We look at traditionally how they've performed over the course of the school year, and then also their entire middle school career. We're looking at attendance. Are these people who regularly show up? One of the big things that we also ask for is making sure that the students are academically mature and independent. So what that means, and you heard them say with the pacing, like, there are some times that there's going to be some ambitious homework that needs to happen, and we're expected to do some things independently and be able to come in prepared and ready to go. The behavior, they're off-site, they're in a college campus, and so the behavior is another factor that you want someone who had a history of making good choices when given the opportunity. So I mean, those are the primary factors. There, if we ever get to a situation where a student we're not sure, we talk to the students' current math and science teachers just to find if there are some other levels of insight where someone might have like some type of affinity or gravitate towards some type of strength that doesn't show up in some type of data set. Like this person just, like, we don't have like good measurements for who's mechanically inclined, right? Like you could have someone who could not necessarily have connected the math on paper just yet, but can build an engine with next to no guidance, right? Like, is that a student who would be appropriate? And the answer is, you bet. We'll teach them the math, right? So, or her the math. So, I mean, those are the primary factors. And again, like a whole bunch of considerations trying to find the right clientele to make sure that they benefit from that.
Okay, great. And nice wrap on that van. I love the
Yeah,
Trojan
yeah.
head on the van, and the wrap is very nice. I don't know if it's paint job or wrap, but it looks really nice. Thank you very much.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
That was a good question there about that too. I was wondering. I do like the sweatshirts. Very nice. The Monco 360.
Yeah, so it because they go on a good bit of field trips, we felt that it was appropriate to give them something that, makes them easily identifiable, and they're very proud to wear those items, and in every single experience when they've gone out into the community and have visited these different sites, and they take tours that I've never been on. Like, I mean, big industrial plants and Universal Concrete and Dana, like all kinds of visits. They get the grand tour, and they look pretty sharp coming through there.
Yeah.
And they all have a good look to them with their uniform tops, and so yeah, it does. It's worked out very well, and it's been absolutely one of the highlights, I think, of my experience.
Yeah, definitely a success. So I'm glad it's going. Any other questions, comments? All right, I guess we can keep moving.
All right, next up we have Linkit growth reports. It's an update from Mr. Rodriguez and myself. You're muted, Mr. Rodriguez. I'm sorry.
So Zoom is telling me, sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. So just to make sure that the board knows what's going on, we're going to give you a report out. You should know that we've already done so for the rest of the school district. But we want to start at the very beginning and kind of give you the same information. So why are we doing this? Number one, this really goes all the way back to the comprehensive plan, which I'll talk about. But really what we're doing is we're making sure that people see where we are in terms of our progress and the money that we're spending and everything that we're doing. So it's about accountability, transparency, and finding out whether or not we have made an effect with all this stuff that we're doing. And we talk about it a lot in this committee. But we are not going to talk about achievement numbers. Achievement numbers will come in the fall. We're going to talk all about growth. So it'll be kind of a back and forth between Mr. Oxenford and I. And we hope that this demonstrates some of the efforts that we've made. One of the things that Mr. Oxenford and I talk about all the time is, no one has ever been lazy in the Pottstown School District. We're always working hard, but do the numbers and the data demonstrate our efforts? So just want to talk about a couple of connecting factors before we dive into all the color coding and the charts and the data. So number one, this is the comprehensive planning stuff. That's when this stuff started, when we took a year to look at everything that we were doing. And then we took 2 or 3 days where we went into, where were we?
Sunnybrook, yeah.
Sunnybrook,
Yeah.
Sunnybrook. We were all in Sunnybrook. Several people in the committee right now were there and experienced all that stuff that we went through and all that conversation. So, this connects to our common assessments. One of the things that I know, as Dr. Wangia was talking, it probably sounded like a lot to you, like, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to walk through these classrooms, et cetera, et cetera. But it's important to remember that we're not looking at doing more. We've heard from teachers who have said, we need a plan. Like, doing all this stuff is too much. We need a solid plan that shows us how we can help grow our students. So that's what common assessments are about. It's not about over testing. It's about replacing the stuff that doesn't matter and making sure that we're doing the stuff that does matter. So we're using benchmark data. We're connecting all of our professional development, which means we're not, putting everybody in the auditorium to listen to some speaker for 2 and 3 hours. We don't do that. Instead, we take professional development for stuff that actually helps students and teachers. We align all of our curriculum. We make sure that it's the state standards, because believe it or not, they are important. And then we monitor. And this is part of that. So I'll just remind board members, we've made investments, and MTSS is a huge part of the reason for the numbers that we're about to show you. Vital signs is a process that, just as a reminder, Mr. Oxenford and I, once every couple of months, we are meeting. Well, it's about 5 times a year. We are meeting to go over everything that we're doing to make sure that every single school is on track and getting what they need. And if there's problems or issues, we do our best to share success, as well as, talk about any problems. And finally, believe it or not, cultural proficiency is also a connecting factor, because if we have good school culture, then our students do better. So hopefully this will give you a good idea of what some of these numbers mean and how it all connects to the different things that we do.
All right, thank you. And I'm going to show you what'll be 6 different charts, and we'll take our time and go through there, but some things just so that when you're taking a look at the chart and seeing it, there are colors that are different than probably what you're used to seeing. If you've ever seen any growth reports, typically they'll do like blue and light blue and green and yellow and red. So it's important to know that based on the company, which is Linkit, who is our data warehouse company that keeps our K-8 information in a usable manner and houses everything. Well, I would say the 3 colors that you'll see on tonight's graphs, you're going to see green, yellow, and pink. Green is going to be the great one, right? Like, this is the one that means students grew more than expected, more than a year's worth of progress over the course of the year. Yellow means that they grew at the level. That means they met the threshold. Their growth is on point and where it needs to be to continue. I mean, we always want greater than, but on point is, as we can see, like in history, that's a challenge, and there's no teacher who will probably ever tell you that if all their students grew exactly 1 year, that it was an easy year. And then pink is the part that will actually help us get to what the yellow and green numbers are, and because those are the numbers that students grew less than expected, and that'll help us, well, sort of count out of 100 what the totals are. So, and I'll explain what that means in a second. So, our growth reports, I'm going to tell you the number, and what we said to our staff, 80%. Like 80% shows up in MTSS on a regular basis. This has been an operating rule that we've used for a lot of our core instruction. Teachers are teaching and they say, when is it time to move on? We talk about 80 of 80. And that's not, I wish I would have coined that, but that's something that has been handed to us. 80 of 80 means 80% of your students demonstrate 80% proficiency on the content. Like, that means that you're in a pretty good place where the majority of your students know the majority of that content. And, as much as we would love to get to 100 of 100, that is a pretty tall ask. And part of the balance that we always have is moving too fast, moving too slow. Like, you can take your time, that's fine, but there's going to be a whole bunch of content at the tail end of what you're required to teach that you're not going to get to, and now it becomes somebody else's problem because the kid either doesn't know it, and sometimes we don't even know that he or she doesn't know that. So That's not good enough, obviously. So we've got to figure out how to make it fit within a school year. Mr. Rodriguez referenced the standards. Love them, hate them. They're it. I mean, they're the guiding tools that the state has lined up and said, here's what needs to happen in these particular grade levels. Here's the level at which the students need to perform. And, we wish you the best. Get it done. And so what's been great about these reports, and as we get into this, just so that we can make sure we understand why these things were put into place, we understood that it wasn't good enough to take the PSSAs. And again, that is far from the only way that we define ourselves, right? Like, I can assure you that is not it. But it is one of the things that other people continue to latch onto in terms of the success of, well, how good is the Pottstown School District system? Like, how well are we meeting the needs of our students? So love it or hate it, right? So there are some things that are just part of playing along and being part of the game. So what we really need to make sure happens is that we have good tools, that we're not waiting till October to find out how we did in April or May. Like, that's not, I'm going to cite you, Ms. Bearden, when we know better, we can do better, right? And the point is, we want to have more timely information. That's why Mr. Rodriguez and myself, and we actually had Dr. Girth, our MTSS coordinator, join us this year. We meet every it's like 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks with every building administrator, and they report on their vital signs. And that's because we need to have timely information where we can make decisions, correct course, and make sure things are tight. Well, it's the same thing with this. Like, we want to have some insight. So 80% is going to be a strong number, but this is really going to be the number that my ask is that this is the number that you use when you help tell how effective we have been. 80% is going to be the number that it's about. That little tilde that's in front of that means about 80%. About 80% of our students, I'm going to steal the thunder, are growing at or above the expected growth level. I'm going to say that again. This metric will show you from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, K to 8 in ELA and math, that 80% of our students are growing at or above. Those are some good numbers, and that is not without a lot of coordinated effort. And I'm going to show you the graphs and the visuals that'll hopefully give some insight into where those numbers come from and what captures it. So you're going to see 4 graphs. Now, not every graph will have that, or not every screenshot will have that, but four graphs in front of you. You're going to see lower elementary, K to 2, upper elementary, middle school, and then a combination of all of it when it's put together, right? So lower elementary, upper elementary, middle school, and then all of it put together is way down here. So this is ELA, and if you look real close, because you gotta, so you know what you're looking at, ELA for all 4 of these graphs. You can see that green and yellow means we grew at or above the expected growth. And you can see, I'm not going to read out every single one, but just when you glance across, the green and the yellow are the dominant color all the way across the board. And when you look at the overall performance, this is K to 8. K to 8. Remember, we didn't have K1 and 2 before factored in, right? K1 and 2, no one had any true measures on how well we were progressing on the required standards. Across the board, 79% of all students in ELA are growing at or above the growth standard. Math, again, lower elementary, upper elementary, middle school, and then all students combined, you can see 81% of our students are growing at or above the growth level standard. So we've got a lot of ways of looking at the data. One of the questions that has come out in the past was, we talked about the achievement gap. Mr. Rodriguez referenced this, and this is one of the primary factors in the implementation of cultural proficiency and the cultural competency work. We're trying to make sure that we can close the achievement gap. Now, as he addressed, this is an achievement. This is growth, right? This is the performance level. This means, how well do students respond to the people who are teaching them? How are they responding to the instruction? How are they learning? Regardless of where they start or end, are they responding? Is there equal response? Is there equal growth amongst the different race categories because that was a question that was brought up through comprehensive plan. It was brought front and center, and regardless of, even if, some said, well, that some of that data is from 2018 or 2019, I can assure you, Mr. Rodriguez said, we will pay attention to this and we will make sure that we are demonstrating that the growth is happening and there is not a significant problem with equality across the board. So we have the numbers, right? So when broken into the subcategories, and this is for all grades, this is ELA, all grades by the race, it's broken into Asian, Black, Hispanic, multiple, and white. And remember, green and yellow means growing at or above the expected growth standard. And you can see as we look across, the numbers are pretty consistent across the board. And then when we look at math, right, and we're at 80%, as I read up these numbers and you look at overall, 80% is that number that, like, sometimes it's 79, sometimes it's 78, sometimes it's, those are the numbers. Sometimes it's 81, right? It's about 80% of our students are growing at or above the growth standard. When we look at it in math, these are the math numbers. Again, the numbers are pretty consistent across the board in growth. How are they responding to the instruction? And you can see like 81, 81, Hispanic, 89%, 100% of multiple, and 82% of white. You can see it's about 80% across the board. Then we ask questions about, well, what about male versus female? Because I feel like that question has come up. Are there disparities in how students are performing in the different subject areas based on gender? When we looked at those numbers, right, you can see ELA, 80% of our girls or our females grew at or above the growth measure, the growth standard. And our males was at 77%. So pretty close to 80%. We'll call that about 80% for now. Math, right? Is there a huge discrepancy based on gender in math? And I think, there are people who have their opinions about that. These numbers are pretty consistent across the board too. 80% of our females are meeting the growth or exceeding the growth standard. And 82% of our males are meeting or exceeding the growth standard. So we're giving you this information, right? We're giving you this information because it's important for you to have the actual numbers. It's important for you to have the actual numbers. This is current. This is probably a week and a half old. And as part of the informational process, the same thing we said with Monco 360, where you need to have insight and be able to see it so that you can tell stories about what you hear and what you hear, students say, what you hear parents say. We're giving you the data, right? And we need you to have this because as you are the advocates for our school system, talking about what is and is not happening, it's important that you have the truth. There are people who continue to not talk the truth about our schools. And it's our responsibility to make sure you have the facts. So
I'll add just one or two things for board members and members of the public who are listening to this, because I think it's really important. Number one, no one's declaring victory, but I got to tell you, I'm really, really pleased with these numbers. Growth numbers are what we call a leading indicator. PSSA scores are a lagging indicator. Now, I remember a time, and Mr. Klein, you can probably relate to this, when I was a high school principal and we didn't have any of these tools. We didn't have anything like this. In fact, some of us didn't even think they existed. But what we would do is we would do our best to help kids grow. And then we get the PSSA scores. At that time it would come around October, and then we look at it and we would say, "Oh no, they're not what we wanted." But of course, we're already in the school year. There's not much we can do. Well, let's try and take these 2 or 3 things, and we'll talk about it at the next department meetings. We couldn't make substantive changes until it was too late, and then we'd watch the scores go down and be really, really frustrated. It is, and this is my second point. It is demoralizing to our staff when they work so hard and do the things that we ask them to do and they don't see the numbers. So although we recognize that this is a leading indicator, so the PSSA scores are the lagging indicator and they'll come up. So we recognize this is just a leading indicator and we're not there yet. But in terms of what this means to our teachers and our students who are doing the work every day, who are saying, all right, hey, everybody, let's make sure to do these few minutes of Lexia and Dreambox. Let's make sure to, go through these strategies that we've all decided to do. And some of the commitments that you heard about here in terms of the house model and MTSS, and making sure that our teachers have the necessary tools to do the job that we're asking. This is gold. This means, yes, our efforts do mean something, and we are having a good positive effect on students.
Yeah, it was an incredible experience on May 16th when we went around and we were visiting with the different buildings and teachers were looking at some of their end of year results. I mean, it was a lot of the people who I think were cautiously optimistic. I mean, they were honestly they're high-fiving and celebrating what they saw, and just to say like, look, finally we're able to show how good we really are, and it was great to see.
Hey, growth is that does show some definitely positive stuff. I just had a question. This was something I was thinking of when Dr. Rangia was talking, and I don't know if anybody knows this off the top of your head, but how many ESL students do we have in general?
We'd have to get you a precise number. I believe
I was just wondering, how does that work? If you have a student who's like an ESL student and maybe they're not very proficient in English, what happens to them when they're taking the language arts? Like how does that affect any?
There's a variety of answers on that. So part of it depends on the timing of how long they have lived in the United States. Like that would be a factor. Sometimes there are some accommodations that are made within the assessments to allow them to, like, are you able to complete the content and answer those questions? But because you can't access the language, the state really does want insight into whether or not you can actually perform, that task, if that makes sense. So not necessarily, they don't want the language to be a barrier. So you do have the Spanish versions, you have different versions of the test that are available to our students. It is a small sample size, but as Dr. Wangia, if you think really, really hard, and there's no way that you picked up on the volume of information that he presented, but Flashlight 360, like there was next to no tool for monitoring the progress of our English learners. And we put Flashlight 360 in, and the middle school, just because we work directly with her on a regular basis through CSI, the middle school ESL specialist has nothing but phenomenal things to say about how much progress she's made with her students by having an insight about how to properly plan for students in that. And some of the assessment measures that were put into place for CSI were actually based on WIDA, which is like the access test that they take mid-year, and I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole other explanation with a terrible timeline that does not coincide with a school year, but it is a small target population, and we do our best to accommodate those students to see, when they are taking those assessments.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought someone else had a hand up. Was that you, Mr. Armando? Did you have a hand up?
I did have my hand up, but I think my question was answered in the presentation. But I would like to take the opportunity now to thank Mr. Oxenford, Mr. Rodriguez, our principals, our entire staff, with the approach they're taking and how much success we have seen. And clearly, the mindset of let's look how much we're improving as opposed to how much we have to go yet is a much more positive way of getting to success. So I thank you for what you're doing and the approach you're using.
Thank you.
That doesn't look like any other questions.
All right. Okay, we have just a couple more things I did show this at the last meeting, but I just wanted to bring this back to your attention again. We do have our open house and back to school nights, and if there are any teachers who are a couple days into summer break, I apologize for talking about the return to school so early into the summer, but this is the world that we currently live in. We have our back to school nights. They are scheduled for our week of in-service, and our teachers all the staffs are extremely welcoming, and they do a really nice job of making sure to equip all of the families and the students who come for that visitation with what they need to know to be comfortable for the following week. It's very well attended, and it's a great night. If you are able to make it your way out to any of these nights, and we'll make sure that this is readily available for you, please do so. There's great energy. There's incredible energy when you make it to these nights. Earlier last month, I talked about the Books A Million book drive. So this is just a friendly reminder that from July 20th till August 17th, there's a book drive that has happened for a couple years, and they've gotten as many as $5,000 worth of books donated. Again, this is not, oh, I have a whole bunch of old books in my library, let me just drop them off. Like, that's not what this is. This is, if you're shopping at Books A Million, you can buy a book from there to donate to the school or to the district, and they make sure to make their way over to us in the start of the school year. And then new teacher orientation. So we have our dates selected, August 5th, 6th, and 7th, which is the week before in service. So we get geared up very early in August and get rolling back in before the students start. But we do have our new teachers coming. The approximate numbers, 30. We'll have about 30 participants. And you say, well, are we hiring 30 people this summer? The answer is no. Part of the induction requirement is that you attend orientation. So if you were hired after the orientation dates last year, you are required to come to that because there are some components inside of that are necessary as part of the induction process. So I'm going to not read every one of these topics, but I will give sort of the flow of what we go over with our new teachers. And a lot of this is carved out in terms of requirements. But the very first person, I think I told you this before, but the very first person they hear from is Mr. Rodriguez. And very appropriate, and one of the many, many things that we hear from our new staff who sometimes come to us from other school districts is that I've never seen a superintendent who knows my name, who talks to me and can tell me about things that are happening. So we made it very important, that we made it so that Mr. Rodriguez has the floor first, and he does a nice job of welcoming our new teachers. Then we get into Mr. Boyer. We get our laptops distributed, Power School. Mr. Rasevich presents CPI training. And then we actually we have Devereaux Center for Effective Schools, a partnership with them where they come in and they run through a half-day workshop with building successful classrooms, because it's one of the most important things as a brand new teacher that you have to have in place. And as much as they're curious about all of the curriculum, everything, we say, we gotta build an effective classroom. We need to know the do's and don'ts. And I think you heard Dr. Wangia talk about, there was a stat, I think it's like 1.3 million examples of praise that were measured in their PBIS program. They talk about behavior specific praise. Ms. Lawrence, you'll be proud because I know you know about this and teach this in some of your courses, but good job isn't it's okay to say good job, but that's not good enough on a regular basis. So you need to give, feedback. I can tell you worked hard on this, right? Behavior specific feedback, which takes a lot more work. It's a lot more intentional. It's very thoughtful, but actually does a better job of promoting the growth mindset. And they're very rigid about making sure that our teachers understand that. And then ironically, we talk about building successful classrooms. Ironically, we also talk to them about retirement planning. And I think there are a couple of people on this call that understand the value of, making sure that you start that early and let time be your friend. And again, Mr. Armada, he'll visit and he talks about Pottstown story. And he always has I think, a really fun time with that. And it's always great to have people spend some time with Mr. Armada, and does a nice job of giving some energy to Pottstown pride and how big of a deal that is around here. Mr. Moore gets into some presentations. Dr. Girth presents. Then they meet with the Federation for a little bit, and then they meet their mentors and then they go back to their building and meet with their principal. So we have a pretty good flow. I think we have some good introductions, good handful of topics. There are a lot of things competing for space on this night, but we make sure to do our best to have all of our brand new staff members very well prepared to be successful to kick off the following week. And with that,
Is there anything in there like of the trauma informed stuff? Is that part of it? Some of
yeah,
that?
so I didn't list everything, but we have there are parts that are in there. Like we have some virtual trainings, and the thing that you don't see in there is we have quarterly meetings. So they have a whole list of requirements. I mean, this is just the 3-day orientation. And again, it's an overload of information. I mean, it's long, they're long days. But they have quarterly meetings, and quarters 2 and 3 of their very first year are based on trauma, and the book study that they participate in is based on trauma. So we've been working with the YW for a while and PTIC, and they've been phenomenal supporters of that component of our new teacher orientation in our district in general.
Good. Is your hand up, Mr. Rodriguez?
It is. Thank you, Mrs. Lawrence. I wanted to follow the process. So I was able to reach out real quick and check a couple of things just in terms of your question. The best answer is always quick and correct. So we have around, if you wanted an exact number, I would have to fish for it, but it's around 150 ESL students district-wide. They are not dispersed equally, though. So as you can imagine, the biggest level of ESL students is going to be at our elementary schools. And that's why we have 2 staff members at that level. And then middle school, 1 staff member, high school, 1 staff member. So that's how we have broken it out. And as Mr. Oxenford indicated, this is the first year we have had a software program to help us, Flashlight 360. I'm sure you'll hear more of it, but I mean that was a true collaborative team effort. We said, hey, and because not that anybody cares that much, but one of the things that we got flagged for, like we want everything to improve. So it's not like we disregard certain sections of our population. We don't do that. But one of the things flagged within our CSI report, as was indicated, is our ESL population that was not growing and we were not having success with. So, after doing a lot of different research and whatnot, the team said, this Flashlight 360 seems like a good deal. So we went ahead and made that investment, and I think it's been a really positive thing. So just wanted to make sure you had that info.
Yeah, thank you. No other comments, questions? All right, is that it, Mr. Oxenford?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, any public comment?
Yes, we have one, Mrs. Lawrence.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Mercedes Jackson, High Street, Pottstown, PA. So I just want to say in regards to the house model, all the geniuses who came up with that idea and pushed that forward, kudos to you, hats off to you. That was a good plan. I agreed to when I first heard it, and I think it's a good plan as well. I've even seen people who are normally miserable even smiling about this plan. So that is definitely a plus. I also want to say, since the summer is here, for the parents to please try your best to keep your kids active. Idle minds is a devil's playground. And I understand that, everybody doesn't have funds to do amusement parks and things like that, but there are many things that you can do that are totally free. Making memories with your family, spending time with your loved ones, that's free. Taking a walk around your neighborhood, throwing a football, shooting some hoops, walk the track at the high school, and walk your pet. And if you don't have a pet, You can walk on a senior citizen's door, and I'm sure they would love for you to walk their pet. Clean up your block, your neighborhood. Take pride in where you live. Take pride in your community. If the area that you see every day looks good, you're going to feel good yourself. Also, I wanted to say to Mr. Oxenford, thank you for clearing that up about the book donation, because that will eliminate people donating them dusty books that's been sitting around for ages and centuries with the cobwebs and spiders all up in them. So that is good to know that people are getting them brand new, ordering them online from Books A Million, and taking this our children to the next level, their success seriously. Again, thank you for everything that everybody does, volunteering your time. And again, please just get your kids involved in something, because we do not want to see on the news like that sad incident with them teenagers having an accident because they got caught up in some malicious tactics. So thank you for listening, and everyone have a blessed week.
Thank you for that. Good thoughts to end with. All right, if no one else has any other comments, we will adjourn and see everyone in August for this meeting anyway. All right, have a good night.